So this morning deals with the dedication of David's royal palace. We consider the significance of this both in the history of Israel and in the life of David himself. Because this royal palace marked a development in the kingdom of God in its Old Testament form, because the monarchy, the Davidic house, was firmly established and the divine promise to David had been fulfilled. Then, in a lesser sense, we consider the significance of our own church's completion, or almost completion. That it is both the culmination of a lot of work and saving, and a step in our development, along with other encouraging factors, that it helps the members of the congregation, such as those with various disabilities, and it serves our evangelistic work. And you could say, if this morning's service especially dealt with the heading of Psalm 30, this evening's sermon treats the contents of Psalm 30. And those of you who are reading through the Scriptures and using the Bible study program which was handed out at the start of the year will find that Psalm 30 is included in tomorrow's passages. So when you get there, you'll say, I know what that's about because I heard 2 sermons on it yesterday and it's live and fresh with me. Let's consider then the dedication of David's house, part 2. First of all, the hard times that preceded it, and second, the great joy that marked it. The dedication of David's house, the hard times that preceded it, and the great joy that marked it. Now, at this joyous occasion of the dedication of his royal palace, King David takes the opportunity to remember at some length too the way that God had delivered him from hard times. He opens the psalm recalling how formerly he had been low and down. He had come from a very humble situation. The shepherd boy of a Bethlehem farm, not even worthy to be included with his brothers when Samuel came around, because he was never going to be the one who would be anointed king. He could stay out there with the sheep. And sticking with David's brethren for a moment, you recall the time when his eldest brother, Eliab, despised him, reckoning that David only came to the valley of Elah out of pride, and as a spectator just wanting to watch the show of the battle between Israel on the one hand and Goliath and the Philistines on the other. And if you want a very vivid picture of the depths to which David sank, just think of the day when he feigned madness before the pagan king Achish of Gath and scrabbled on the door with the saliva running down his beard. And then there was that day when Nabal ridiculed him. David was looking for food. And Nabal said, well, there's many servants today who've run away from their masters and would like support. And who's this David that I should give him anything? In fact, David himself referred to himself as a flea and a dead dog. But verse 1 begins, I will extol thee, O Lord, for thou hast lifted me up. Which of course means that he was, before that, low and down. And he was lifted up, was David, first of all as king of Judah, then as king of all 12 tribes, and now especially in the light of Psalm 30, the one who lives in the new royal palace in Jerusalem. And God's work of raising up David to that throne, in that palace, in that city, in that land, God's purpose was to use him as a type of Jesus Christ, a type of Christ as king, not so much prophet or priest now, king, who rules from a very rich, very glorious palace, which is above us, and which no one here yet has seen, but we will see. And on this happy occasion, dedication of his house, and when many were rejoicing with David, he pauses to reflect upon the days when there were many people who did and wanted to rejoice over him. Let me take you to 3 other Psalms. First of all, Psalm 11 verse 1. Psalm 11 verse 1. How say ye to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain? They mocked him. David on the run now. You are like a bird under pressure. He flies away into his mountain for safety. They ridiculed him. Let's turn to Psalm 41. On this occasion, David is sick, and he has some visitors on his sickbed. Psalm 41 verse 5. Mine enemies speak evil of me. When shall he die, and his name perish? And if he come to see me, this would be some boy at your hospital bed. He speaketh vanity. His heart gathereth iniquity to itself. When he goeth abroad, he telleth it. All that hate me whisper together against me. Against me do they devise my hurt. An evil disease has got him. Cleaves fast to him. He's going to lie down and he's never going to rise again. They were rejoicing over him and willing and hoping that he was going to die. But in his hospital bed, they were telling him what a great man he was and how they hoped that he would make us a full and speedy recovery. And then chapter 42 verse 3, David says, my tears have been my meat day and night, while they continually say unto me, where is thy God? And the psalmist here, it says to be for the sons of Korah, but even if David wrote it, and he may well have done, he was mocked with the exact same line. Where is your God? If you're really king, where is it? If God has really appointed you, why are you on the run? And there are, perhaps especially, 3 men who would have loved to have rejoiced over David, perhaps more than any others. Goliath. Goliath mocked this young strapling as he faced him in the valley. Son, I'm going to tear you limb from limb and feed you as carrion to the birds, coming out to me with a sling and a few stones. Saul, on several occasions, thought he had caught David and was rejoicing in it. But there was Doeg, the reprobate Edomite, who hated the man after God's own heart. And here on this day of gladness, at the dedication of his house, David says, thou hast not made my foes to rejoice over me. Because the believer knows what an awful thing that is to be mocked and to have your enemies rejoice over you. To be glad of your sin, to exult in your fall, to cover you with shame and confound you, and then blaspheme the Lord whom we serve. I've been lifted up from the depths. My foes have not rejoiced over me. O Lord my God, verse 2 continues, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me.